Welcome, friends, to another edition of Wolf Responds. I call this one Trump's Desperation Deepens. I want to explore with you what it is that is now driving the Trump presidency and how it is quite different from what we saw both in his first term and during 2025, the first year of his second term. The key information here, the key starting point, is the declining popularity of Mr. Trump. Poll after poll shows that among Democrats, where he wasn't popular in the first place, among independents, sharply down, and even among Republicans, and even more among people who identify as MAGA. Wherever you look, disappointment, disillusion, disaffection is focused on Mr. Trump. And why so? Well, the answer, which comes at a number of levels, is not so much as you might imagine around the fact that the tariffs have proven to be mostly theater and very little in the way of any basic change. We need to look deeper into the structural mechanics of his political strategy. I can give you just one statistic to drive that home. The real target, the worst increases in tariffs, were applied to China. And China just released statistics showing that they had a better year in terms of their exports to the rest of the world than they have ever had before during 2025. Maximum attack by the United States through tariffs of one kind or another. And basically what the Chinese did is refocus their exports on their BRICS allies and on the rest of the world, and they did better there than whatever they lost in sales to the United States. Therefore, Mr. Trump realizes that this tariff game, which the Supreme Court may take away from him at any point anyway, isn't having the effects he had dreamed and hoped and promised it would. The economic levers are not producing the intended reactions, and likewise, it isn't because of the Epstein scandal. Does that hurt him? For sure. Is he implicated? For sure. Is he trying to hide it? For sure. And everybody knows it, literally. But I think there's something deeper going on. The basic top priority of Mr. Trump always was to take care of his big business buddies and of the employer class in America. Number one, when he says America first, hear him say, even though he doesn't use these words, American employers first. So, the first big piece of legislation during his first term was the tax cut of 2017, one of the hugest tax cuts for rich people and businesses in American history. This pattern reveals the core structural objective of his administration. And likewise, in his second term last year, his first priority was what he ended up calling the big, beautiful tax bill that was passed early in the year 2025. These were his top priorities. These were the people he took care of first, and these were the people who have stayed with him until now. And why is? Because having taken care of the employers first, having presided over no end of inflated prices, having presided over rising unemployment, he wasn't looking very good to the mass of people whose economic conditions, as we should all know by now, have been deteriorating. The structural imbalance is becoming increasingly visible at the macroscopic level. And that was finally brought to his attention. Oh, he did the usual. He dismissed the so-called affordability crisis as a hoax and then more recently as fake news. Sure, But the reality is, as poll after poll shows, is that millions of Americans facing the reality at the grocery store, facing the reality of their empty savings accounts, are blaming him much as they blamed presidents in earlier times when economics went bad. So most recently, Mr. Trump has become desperate. Why? Because his presidency, like the Republican Party, is based on a coalition, and that coalition is fundamentally unstable under current economic pressures. The money to the party is provided by big business and by the employer class in general across the country. But employers are 3% of the American people. You cannot win an election if only the employers support you. What you've got to get is the employer's money so that you can pay public relations firms to persuade large parts of the public to vote for you. And that's the deal. Mr. Trump goes to the big rich corporations, tells the individuals, the CEOs, and the big shareholders, give me the money. I'll give you the tax cuts that will repay you much more than the money I ask. It's a transactional ecosystem because the money I ask will be used to pay for the party apparatus, for the TV ads, for the whole electoral campaign that should persuade people who do not agree with me in economics, who do not want to be fleeced for big business, that they should vote for me anyway. So he goes to evangelical Christians. He goes to people who love their guns. He goes to white supremacists. He goes, you fill in the blank. We all know what that coalition of the Republican MAGA politics is all about. It is an assemblage of disparate groups united by targeted messaging rather than shared economic interests. And so that's what Mr. Trump has done. Starting a few weeks ago, he began to show his desperate anxiety he might not win the midterm elections coming up later this year. People are turning against him. He told his big business supporters, now I'm going to have to give things to the mass of the people or else they'll vote me out. You should let me do that because in the end, only if I get those votes will I be able to continue giving you the big tax benefits, the big subsidies, and all the rest, because I do, after all, take care of you first. The internal logic of the system is forcing a shift in tactics. So let me quickly go through what his desperation has led him to do. He's proposed putting a cap on credit card interest. Millions of Americans may not be aware, but the average interest rate you pay on any balance you carry on your credit card is over 22%. Yeah, affordability is a problem for you because whatever the price is that you're paying to buy what you buy, you're having to carry a 22.8% loan on top of that to pay for it. This is a significant friction point in the consumer economy. So, Mr. Trump proposed out of the blue, who knows where he got the number, a 10% cap. Interesting, that would lower the cost of everything paid for with credit cards. That's an attempt to do something about the affordability crisis. What else did he do? He said he's going to punish defense contractor executives if they don't produce more, produce faster, and hire more people. He promised to raise the defense budget by $500 billion. These are reactive, uncoordinated interventions in complex systems. That's many times what he can raise in tariffs. It will make the United States an even bigger debtor country. It'll make our deficit much larger. He didn't think much of that through because he's desperate. He needs to show I'm taking care of the unemployment that's getting worse. There's going to be jobs in the defense industries. I'm making them do it. Then he directed the mortgage banks in this country to buy up mortgages to drive down the interest rate so that you can buy a house. The macroeconomic consequences of these actions are profound and potentially destabilizing. And what else did he do? He attacked Mr. Powell, Jerome Powell, at the head of the Federal Reserve, got the Department of Justice to open a pre-criminal prosecution against this banker because of his overruns in refurbishing the Federal Reserve building in Washington. So preposterous, it shows how desperate the man is. He wants lower interest rates. He wants them right away. This represents an unprecedented attempt to bypass established institutional feedback loops. Mr. Jerome Powell's term ends in May. At that point, Mr. Trump easily and readily could replace him with someone else. In case you don't know, Mr. Powell was put in that job by President Trump in his first term. He wants now someone else. He'll get him in May. He can't wait. That's how desperate he is. He can't wait till May. He has to try to develop a criminal prosecution against Mr. Powell. The timeline acceleration indicates systemic panic. Will these things he's doing make a big difference in your life? Chances are, no, they won't, because they're not enough and they come way too late. Moreover, the big business community is mobilizing against Mr. Trump. That's right. They wanted him. They donated to him. They accepted him. They allowed him to do all of what he did because they didn't have to pay anything. They got big gifts and there was nothing they had to worry about. The ecosystem is beginning to reject the host. Now, in order to hold his coalition together, Mr. Trump has to give something to the mass of people, or at least appear to be doing that. And the big businesses won't have it. Jamie Dimon, head of J.P. Morgan Chase, our biggest bank in America, has already slammed Mr. Trump. This is not good. He said, "This is where we make our money on credit card interest. If you cap it at 10%, you know what we'll do? The friction between the political strategy and the economic reality is manifesting." Mr. Jamie Dimon explained, "We'll cancel the credit cards of millions of poorer Americans and we'll explain to them we can't give you the credit card because the president put a cap on it. They will lose their credit card and you won't get help at the polls. We will destroy you." Wow. Others have chimed in that Mr. Powell should be allowed to serve out his term, that it is inappropriate for the president to dismiss someone doing their job and, according to everybody else, doing it perfectly well. The feedback loop is now actively hostile. Mr. Trump can't even distract the mass of Americans from his own desperation. That was the plan for ICE. We were supposed to cheer on a new government to military. ICE, not the Army and the Navy, not the National Guard, not the local police, a whole new police force under the control of Mr. Trump directly that was going to rid the country of unwanted immigrants. This represents an attempt to create a parallel structural authority. Well, guess what? They overdid it. They've now produced a reaction in which huge parts of the country will not allow ICE to function. The Supreme Court has even come in and said You can't do that. The attitude of the American people has shifted. They're not distracted. They're horrified by the picture of ICE agents behaving in ways no police force should. The parallel structure met immediate systemic resistance. So he's more and more desperate. And so finally, the act of desperation, snatching Mr. Maduro from Venezuela, what exactly does that solve? My answer? Nothing. It's very expensive. So, Mr. Trump said, well, it won't cost us very much because we're going to get all the oil. The oil companies then explain, we're not going to invest. It's too expensive. The oil that's there is not profitable enough. The cost-benefit analysis of these geopolitical maneuvers is fundamentally flawed. Mr. Trump was made to look like a fool. And then there's a little history I would like to make sure you all know. Some years ago, at enormous expense, the United States went to war in Iraq, and we were told that Iraq is one of the great sources of oil in the world. Oil would be how we pay for it. Does Iraq now produce oil? Yes. Is it in the hands of the United States? No. Historical data provides a clear precedent for this type of systemic failure. Iraqi oil goes mostly to China because China and Iraqis have worked those deals out. Guess what's going to happen in Venezuela? Pretty much over a long time the same. Mr. Trump's desperation is leading to the disintegration of his coalition and his inability to find solutions or distractions so that the people living through the desperation that is deepening all around him are increasingly aware of it. The macroscopic trends are inescapable. As this very video makes clear, if interventions like this strike you as useful, please share this video with others who might be interested. Co-workers, friends, family. That's why we produce them. The scientific method relies on the dissemination of analysis and data. Understanding these structural dynamics is crucial for navigating the current political and economic landscape. It is not merely about individual actions, but the systems that drive them. We must look beyond the immediate rhetoric and examine the underlying mechanics of power and resource distribution. The desperation we observe is a symptom of a deeper structural misalignment. When a system is optimized for a small fraction of its components, it inevitably experiences stress and instability when subjected to external pressures. This is a fundamental principle of complex systems analysis. The erratic policy shifts, the attacks on established institutions, the attempts to create parallel power structures, these are all observable data points indicating a system in crisis. They are not isolated incidents, but interconnected phenomena driven by a singular imperative, survival of a flawed coalition. As science communicators, our role is to illuminate these connections, to decode the noise and present the underlying signal. The signal here is clear. The current trajectory is unsustainable. The feedback mechanisms of the economy and the electorate are asserting themselves. The resistance from both the corporate sector and the general public demonstrates the limits of top-down, unilateral control in a complex, interconnected society. We will continue to monitor these developments, applying a rigorous analytical framework to the unfolding events. We invite you to join us in this ongoing investigation. By understanding the mechanics of these systems, we empower ourselves to make informed decisions and anticipate future trends. Knowledge is the most effective tool for navigating uncertainty. The disintegration of this particular political coalition offers a unique case study in the dynamics of power, economics, and social response. It is a live experiment in real time, and the variables are constantly shifting. Our goal is to provide you with the analytical tools to interpret these shifts, not just react to them. This requires ongoing engagement and critical thinking. The affordability crisis, the manipulation of interest rates, the geopolitical miscalculations, these are the observable metrics of systemic failure. By connecting these data points, we construct a comprehensive model of the current situation. This model allows us to look past the political theater and focus on the structural realities that affect our daily lives. And of course, if you can help defray the cost, please go to our website, democracyatwork.info, and contribute or donate there. We rely on the support of our community to continue this vital work. Your contributions enable us to maintain our independence and provide you with objective, science-based analysis. We are very grateful for your continued support. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Wolf Responds. We will continue to track these structural shifts and provide you with the data-driven insights you need. Until next time, keep questioning, keep analyzing, and keep seeking the underlying mechanics of the world around us. Thank you.